Hey friends, this week we're learning eggs. We're doing frying, scrambling and poaching, the three classic versions of how you might have your egg, and it will suit any breakfast, whether you want scrambled egg on toast, poached eggs on hollandaise, or maybe just a good fried egg on top of your dinner. We're going to cover it all, so come with me and let's learn about eggs. So first up on this eggy journey, we are doing poached. You can do this in many different ways. You can just have your water boiling with some vinegar in it, crack it on the side, pop your egg in, cook. But we're going to do it in a slightly chefy way. So often you will find the problem when you're poaching your eggs is that when you crack it in, you get these ribbons. The white starts to separate. The problem is if your eggs are old, that's going to happen because the white is starting to break down and lose its integral structure which keeps it together. So a great way to combat this, and often what they might do in a restaurant if they want perfectly poached eggs, is to slightly, let's call it curing. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take some water. So I've got about 300 mils of water, and I'm going to take about 4 tablespoons of vinegar, white. We're just going to stir that together, and what we're going to do is crack our eggs into this water, and they're going to slightly cure on the outside, which means all of that white will stay together when we come to poach it. But what we need to do is leave them for about 5 minutes. Like I said, you can do it the other way, and you can just tip it straight into the boiling water with a whirlpool, which is the classic way to do it. Here's a link to my video about poaching eggs that way. But this is just a slightly more chefy version of what they might do, and it means that you get perfect formed poached eggs each time. So we'll come back to these in 5 or 10 minutes. So as you can see here, the white has slightly cured, and you can really see the edge of that egg. It's been 10 minutes, so let's put them in. So my water is on a low heat. We're going to put these eggs in, and we're going to cook them for 3.5 minutes. So get your timer ready. So we're going to scoop these eggs up with a ladle with some of that liquid. These eggs are only small. They're a size 6. If you had a size 7 or 8 egg, you might want to cook them for a little bit longer. See you in 3.5 minutes. And here it is, our perfect little egg. I always like to sit it on a piece of paper just to take away any moisture. Perfect to the touch. And then just sit it on the plate and just cut it open. We've got a perfectly gooey, beautifully soft poached egg. That may be a slightly fancy way to do it, but you end up with excellent results. Now let's jump on to scrambling eggs. Next up on these eggy little treats, we are doing scrambled. Now, it's a really simple thing to cook. It's a really great thing to have for breakfast, to have even for dinner, and it doesn't take too much, but there are a few little things that you can do just to make it that little bit nicer. Now, of course, again, it comes down to how you like it. Do you like it more cooked? Do you like it less cooked? Do you like it in larger lumps? Do you like it in smaller lumps? All of these things come into when you're cooking it in the pan. But what I do suggest, again, if you have the time, crack your eggs, scramble them in the bowl, and then we're going to add a little bit of salt. We're going to pre-season these before they go into the pan, and what that means when you salt them is that the protein in the egg is not bound as tightly to one another. It means you get a not as tough, you get a nice moist scrambled egg. I mean, of course, if you don't have time, you don't have time, but it is a really nice way just to get a slightly softer scrambled egg that's not so tightly bound, and you just get a great result. So again, it's super easy, but let's get on it. So what we need to do first is crack the eggs and give them a little season. And then you want to make sure that when you're making scrambled eggs that you preheat your pan. You want to make sure that your pan is on the stove for at least 2 minutes on a medium kind of heat. You want it to be quite warm, but a really great test for that is to drop some water in it, and if it dissipates and it goes quickly within a few seconds, we're ready to go. Or when you add in your knob of butter, it foams pretty quickly, and again, we're good to go. So in go the eggs. And then what you want to do is when you're scrambling, scramble harder from the middle, quickly, so that they break up, so you get finer curds of the egg. If you like a slightly more chunky one, don't move it as many times. You probably want to move it 4 or 5 times for a larger chunk and 6 to 9 times for a smaller, finer scramble. And as you can see there, I pulled it off just before it was slightly fully cooked, so you can end up with perfect, bouncy, soft, scrambled eggs. Yum. And there it is. You see, you end up with this much softer, bouncier texture that's just absolutely delicious. These are such a quick snack, such a great meal, also great for your kids, great for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Oh. And they're just great. They're soft, they're moist, and not rubbery at all. That pre-season really does make a difference. But also, I know that you guys don't always have time, so just go ahead and cook them. You'll still end up with a great result. So that is scrambled eggs. Let's move on to fried. So our final egg lesson is fried. We're gonna do over easy and sunny side up. The difference with these two is that the over easy gets flipped over and the sunny side up stays, well, sunny side up. But there are some things that you can do to combat the snot that comes on the top of a fried egg that doesn't get flipped. Because I know a lot of people don't like the snotty stuff, me included. So when you do the sunny side up, we're gonna add a lid. But first of all, I'll show you how to do over easy. With an over easy egg, we want to put the pan on a medium heat, or add a tiny little knob of butter to see whether it's hot enough. So once it's ready to go, crack in your egg, and we're going to cook it. Give it a little bit of salt and pepper on top. And then we're going to flip it over and cook. And we're going to cook for just 30 seconds on that side. And then that's it. Let's plate it up. And there is your over easy egg. The texture of the yolk is slightly more cooked. There's still a tiny bit of jamminess left in the middle, but not much at all. You get that tiny bit of dribble, but otherwise the yolk is completely cooked. And it's just great. You don't have to cook it in butter, but a fried egg cooked in butter is just absolutely delicious and a real treat for your breakfast. So that is over easy. Let's do sunny side up. Now for a sunny side up egg, you want that pan just slightly cooler. We're still going to do the exact same process, just a little bit cooler in the pan. And once that white has just set, we're going to stick on the lid and let it steam for about a minute. And what that should do is take away that snottiness on the top of the egg, but still have a wonderfully runny egg. You can even, if you really want, be nice and really chefy and take away that little bit of extra white. And what it does with the lid on is it sets the top with the steam from the heat of the pan. So like I said, you don't end up with the snotty white top. Perfection. And there, see how the top has gone slightly white, but what's happened is that snottiness from around the outside has disappeared. And what we get is a perfect, soft, is a perfectly runny fried egg. No snot on top, and just a wonderful, Yet again, fried egg. These are definitely great lessons that everyone should have in their repertoire. Eggs are so simple, but so delicious. If you're looking for another way to cook eggs, I've got another video on it. I've added it up here. It's how to make an omelette. That is another great dinner or breakfast or lunch item. So that's all we're going to cover this week. This has been eggs. I hope that you've enjoyed this episode of my Learn to Cook series. And join me again next week where we'll be doing another part of this Learn to Cook series. So until then guys, have a great week and I'll see you soon. Ciao!